What's up, you guys? This is Jesse's Paint Jobs, and today we're going to be custom painting an Orca BMX racing frame. First, I'm going to go ahead and hit this bike with some sealer. The sealer just helps the paint adhere to the frame a little bit better, and it fills in all those scratches and little minor imperfections on the frame. Gotta flip this thing over, spray the bottom side, make sure everything's covered. Alright, we're done with the sealer. I did go ahead and hit this bike with some black paint. I just didn't videotape that part. And these are all the logos that we are going to be using for this paint job. Every bike is different. Some have a lot of logos, some customers don't like any logos at all. So it's all up to them on how many I put on there and where they're placed. So first I'm going to start out with the O up front. And then we're going to go ahead and hit the Orca logo on both sides of the frame. Next up is the Bosch logo on the rear of the frame. Alright, we got that on both sides. And then we're going to put the Bosch logo on the fork. Alright, all done putting all the logos on the frame. Now this bike is going to have a fade, so it's going to be white in the back, blue in the front. Alright, flip it over, make sure I didn't miss any areas. That looks pretty good. Alright, it's time to move on to the blue. We were debating back and forth on if we wanted to put metallic in it or any pearls or any flake, but we ended up with this blue and it looks really good. Make sure we spray the fork really well. The fork's going all blue. The logo decided that it wanted to kind of lift up a little bit, so flip it over, make sure we hit every spot. Make sure there's no black left behind. Okay, now it's time for the fun part. So what I do for this, it's called a marble effect. How I do it is I grab some saran wrap and throw some pink paint on there. Cut another piece of saran wrap. Kind of ball it up, and you kind of want it to look imperfect and just have a bunch of wrinkles in it. Dab it in the paint, dab it on the paper so you know what your layout is going to be looking like, and just start going crazy, dabbing it everywhere. It doesn't really matter how perfect you get it, the less perfect the better, in my opinion. So you have to go back and forth and keep dabbing it in the paint and then applying. I've done this effect on a lot of different bikes, and we do it all sorts of different colors, and this customer chose out some really cool colors, and I was really happy with this one. I'd say the hardest part about doing this is trying to get all the little tight spots and all the corners. It can be a little bit challenging, but it's best just to not overthink it and kind of just go crazy with it. And the one thing you have to be careful about with doing this is you can smear the paint, and that kind of ruins the whole look that we're going for with this marble effect. So that's the one thing you really got to be careful with. You just want to press it for maybe a second and pull it right off of there. You got to be careful not to like move left or right. You don't want any smudges or smears. Alright, it's time to move over onto the fork. The fork is a lot easier to do because you can move it around and kind of adjust it. I love doing this technique in this type of paint job, but it is very time consuming, so make sure you plan for a whole day of painting for this one job. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Kind of check it all out, make sure we're not missing any spots. It's okay to miss some spots, but you don't want too many open spaces because then it kind of ruins the look of it a little bit. Inspect the main frame one last time, make sure it's all good to go. Alright, time to take these nasty gloves off. And grab yourself a razor blade. It's usually best to get a brand new one for peeling the logos off. The sharper the end of the blade, the better. You don't want to nick it at all or scrape some of the paint off, which has happened to me before, which sucks, but you just have to touch it up. This is by far one of my favorite parts of the paint job. It's so satisfying pulling those logos off. These logos are a little bit more difficult to peel off. It's mainly just because the smaller they get, the harder it gets, but overall it's not too bad. And this bike really doesn't have that many logos. There are a lot of frames that I have painted in the past that require a lot more concentration, and it's really hard with the smaller they get. Alright, done with the main frame, time to jump on the fork. And this fork doesn't have too many logos either, so that was nice. And there you go. It's all peeled off. Inspect the frame, make sure everything's looking good. Make sure there's no imperfections, make sure everything's looking the way it should. Okay, everything looks great. It's time to move on to some clear coat. I know most painters don't paint like bikes and small stuff like this, so clear coating a bike frame in is a little bit different than clear coating in a car. It could be a little bit more challenging at times because you don't have that nice flat surface to work with. You have all these little crevices and angles, and it could be very challenging. It took me a long time to get the hang of it, and you just got to make sure you don't overspray it and just be very light with the trigger. Kind of stay away from it a little bit more than you would for a car, I should say. I always do 2 hands of clear coat just to make sure I get that nice glossy finish. I just didn't videotape the second hand. Alright, I'm all done with the second-handed clear coat, so check out this nice high glossy finish. It just makes the colors pop out so much better once you have clear coat on it. This was a fun project for sure. I'm so happy with how it turned out. Alright, so that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for hanging out with me and painting this BMX Orca Bosch frame. I'm gonna start posting more videos like this, so leave a like, comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one.